The crazy teacher. There was a buzz all around the school. Everyone had heard the rumour. There was a new teacher coming to Maplewood Primary, and his name was Mr. Whizbang. People had heard Mr. Whizbang was a bit unusual, but no one seemed to know why. One of the main sources of all good gossip around the school was a pupil only known as Commander X. He was a student who dressed all in black, always had a frown, and he had a cape. None of the other pupils at Maplewood Primary wore a cape. But don't get me wrong, there was plenty that was unusual about Maplewood Primary. For a start, Commander X could fly, and he regularly did. There was also a pupil called Maeve, who could sneeze out flowers, and another called Anthea, who could control the school's central heating system with his mind. It wasn't your typical school at all. However, everyone had heard Mr. Whizbang was unusual, and everyone who went to Maplewood Primary wondered how on earth he could be unusual to them. Mr. Whizbang arrived the next day with a burst of energy. He was dressed in very silly clothes, with lots of bright colours and a big blue hat. Everyone seemed to like him because he had the best stories. There was one about a tiger that could whistle, and another about a gadget that he'd made on a trip to the moon. Mr. Whizbang was weird in the best way. He was interesting. Everyone kept listening to all the incredible stories from their new teacher and loving every moment. Everyone, that is, except Commander X. Commander X was suspicious, and the frown on his face grew more intense the more he listened to his new teacher. He thought there was more than meets the eye to Mr. Whizbang, and that's really saying something, because how on earth could there be even more? The guy wore a big blue hat. For days, Commander X couldn't work out why he was so suspicious. But after about a week, Mr. Whizbang set a very peculiar homework assignment. He said that every pupil had to find something magical in their town. Usually their homework was maths or science or to read, but to find something magical? That seemed a bit odd. Commander X used his flying abilities to search the town from the sky. While he was flying, he noticed a mysterious glow and swooped down to investigate. As he got closer to the glow, he noticed it was coming from a cave. He'd never seen this cave before, and he'd lived in the town all his life. As Commander X entered the cave, this glow grew brighter. It illuminated the wall. There was a small shelf carved into it, and on that were some books. Commander X opened them to discover they were books of spells, ancient spells. As he read through the books, he noticed that they were very familiar. All the stories Mr. Whizbang had been telling in class were in these books. All of Mr. Whizbang's gadgets and all the miraculous things were contained in these books full of spells. The pages of the books suddenly began to shake. At that moment, Commander X noticed that the cave he was in was about to collapse. Rocks started falling from the ceiling. Quickly, he picked up the books and flew out of the cave entrance. His cape fluttered as he just about cleared the entrance in time. The cave had collapsed, but Commander X had managed to pull the spellbooks out of there. He knew what he had to do next. The following day, just before lessons began, Commander X went to see Mr. Whizbang. "Why are all of your stories in these books?" asked Commander X. At that point, things got really cold. Ice cold. But that was because Anthea had decided to turn the school's central heating down with their mind again. It was actually really annoying when they did that, and no one knew why anyone would need a superpower like it. But it did make Commander X's question seem even more dramatic. Mr. Whizbang looked a bit sad. "Oh, you don't understand the power of these books. I know you've been suspicious of me for some time, but I became a teacher to pass on some of my knowledge. You see, I am a retired wizard, and I wanted to pass on some of the fun I have had to others. But you must be careful. These spell books contain great power. You can't just mess about with them, you know. Mr. Whizbang promised to help Commander X use the powers contained in the book wisely. And over time, Commander X also started telling stories and lessons from the spellbooks. Between them, they used the spells to help the school build a new science block, create a larger playing field for the sports department, and they also made the town much sunnier, which everyone seemed to enjoy. Over time, however, something even more magical happened. Commander X's frown started to disappear. He was having so much magical fun, he didn't need to frown anymore. He would fly down the corridors of Maplewood Primary, and other pupils would barely recognise him. There's more to magic than just the spells. Good wizards end up taking on a bit of the magic themselves. Achoo! Said Maeve, the student who could sneeze out flowers, and sure enough, out of her nose came some roses, and Commander X laughed, and Mr. Whizbang laughed. The whole school laughed so loudly it shook slightly, and some rocks fell and buried the books full of spells again. Commander X looked worried for a second, but Mr. Whizbang reassured him that now he was smiling, he didn't really need the books anymore, and promptly disappeared, leaving Commander X to be the school's new, crazy, unusual, magical teacher. Thank you very much to Ahan for giving us the idea for the crazy teacher. So many possibilities, magical ideas in that one, Ahan. Thank you so much for it. And also, a massive well done to Xander for giving us the character Commander X. There's a lot that we could do with that, and I loved what we did, all based on your ideas, Xander. Thank you so much. If you have any idea that you would like to send over to us, use the StoryQuest character creator over at funkidslive.com. And let's go and head over to our story master this week. It's Ahan. Ahan, you are our story master this week. Why did you send us an idea for a crazy teacher?
I was always thinking of what it would be like if the teachers weren't like normal teachers and they were crazy and they made everyone do the opposite thing of learning, and they do fun stuff and things like that.
Listen, I know that aside from stories and aside from crazy teachers, you love your planes, right? Tell me all about the planes that you draw.
Well, I don't know why, but I just really like them, and I like to draw them, and I do lots of practicing.
Someone has to design planes in real life, right? They don't just pop up out of thin... I mean, they're in the air, but they don't pop out of thin air. Maybe that's something that you could do. You could design planes when you're older.
Oh yeah, maybe. That's a good idea, actually.
Thank you very much. I hope that you do that, Ahan. Well, listen, it's been amazing hearing about this strange teacher. I've really enjoyed reading out your story. Thank you so much for being our story master this week, Ahan.
Yes, thank you.
Got an idea for a story? Tell us the title at funkidslive.com/storyquest, and we could bring your story to life. For a new story each week, make sure you hit subscribe or follow so you don't miss a single episode.